All right, what's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Google earnings, crazy day, a huge up day. So let's jump into it here. So Nasdaq. Um, I said if this week closes anything above the 19,000 level, I would go after it for a move up to the 50-day moving average here. And today is a super strong day, so that's what I did. I used TQQQ like I normally do. $51 strike price. This expires June 20th. $51 strike price. I paid $6.65 for those. Those are currently flat, but I think that's a weird, maybe sort of after hours pricing or kind of right at the close. Things get all strange, right? Because I place these back here, right in here, and Nasdaq is clearly doing fantastic. Google had a great day, so these are working out nicely. And like I said, I'm not going to be I'm not going to be holding these for a long period of time. I did make a video that said that's it. The bear market's over, but there's some kind of just some half truth in that. But regardless, those are working out good. Nasdaq's clearly broken this trend line. Two very, very strong days. Really three, and so everything's working out good. We'll go over Google here in a little bit. Let's go over my other position, which is MicroStrategy, 330. The average cost base is 330. These are working out good. Bitcoin looks pretty good here as well after hours. I guess it's kind of giving some back, but so I have a third of a position on size on MicroStrategy, and I'm not going to be adding to this until the stochastic gets back down. MicroStrategy looks fantastic. Bitcoin looks really good. So, 50-day moving average is quite a ways away. And this particular pattern is different from something in here. So the 50-day moving average has already been sloping up, right? So things can get a little crazy, which they got more than a little crazy during all this run. I mean, this was pretty wild. Look at this. That's just wild. But as these moving averages are going to catch up, there'll be some funkiness going on, and I'll hit this one very hard, so long as everything else kind of plays out as I would expect. But as of now, Bitcoin looks fantastic. But again, like I said, until I add to this, we'll be waiting for the stochastic to get back down. Maybe Bitcoin gets closer to the 50-day moving average, or maybe just chops sideways and waits for the moving averages to catch up. Let's look at this on a weekly chart. Yeah, so you can't really be adding anything here or going after it here. I guess it would depend on your time horizon, right? Anything can and does happen. But for me, so for example, what's the risk to reward here, right? And it's not something that I would be willing to risk. So I'll add to this when the risk to reward is a little bit better. All right. So Nasdaq looks great. MicroStrategy, Bitcoin looks good. Since we're on Bitcoin, let's look at some of the Bitcoin miners. Over the 50-day moving average, if I'm trying to be positive, again, same thing, CleanSpark. Over the 50-day moving average, if I'm trying to be positive. Riot. Really good volume. And let's look at Hut 8. There's no sense in going after these. There's no need to go after any Bitcoin miners. You know, I'm a huge proponent of just going after what the underlying commodity is or whatever. Like, so if you're going after gold miners, I'm a huge proponent of just going after gold or GLD, for example. And same thing with Bitcoin. Now, the reason you would go after Bitcoin miners is to look for outsized gains in Bitcoin. But with instruments like MicroStrategy, as well as there's a 2x leveraged MicroStrategy fund. You've got calls on MicroStrategy. You have calls on or options on Bitcoin ETFs. There's no reason to have any single stock exposure to try and achieve outsized gains. So that's my 2 cents on that. All right, moving on. So S&P 500. I don't know. Russell. Yeah, I just, again, I don't know. I mean, Google had great earnings. Let's look at Dow. Or the reaction to Google's earnings were a positive. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing I'm getting carried away over. There's a trade to be taken, but that's it. We're still not in any sort of meaningful uptrend. This bull market has been over, right? So until another one gets established, you trade this market as such. I'm not trying to be a hero. That's not what trading is about in any way. All right. Now let's go over Mag 7. Wow, Microsoft had a fantastic day today. I just way below the moving average. I mean, same thing with Nvidia. It's got a gap to fill around this area, and that this whole area in here would coincide pretty well with where I would suspect to get out of my NASDAQ position. Okay, let's go over Netflix. Yeah, wow. Yeah, Netflix is just crushing. I mean, that's pretty wild. All right, Amazon. Yeah, I mean, Amazon looks really good. I could see this having a good day tomorrow. Before we go, let's go. Amazon, Meta, and then Apple and Tesla. Yeah. Apple. Yeah, look at this huge gap to fill up here. Yeah, I could see tomorrow being a really good day. All right, now, so Google's up a few percentage points after hours, and they had a good reaction to earnings, and that shouldn't be surprising at all. Sentiment is pretty low, and so really anything short of bad, their stock would perform well, and apparently they beat earnings, so beat estimates. So none of this is surprising. I wasn't worried in any way, shape, or form holding those NASDAQ calls overnight here with Google reporting earnings, because the chance of them having a poor reaction to earnings, I believe, was going to be extremely low, just given market sentiment. All right, now that's it. Let's go over the different sectors. Let's look at Germany here real quick. And wow, I have no clue why I felt the need to look at Germany, but I mean, look at this. I mean, we're almost at a high. Yeah. Shoot. That's interesting. So this is definitely something to watch out for, right? I mean, you would say that this is performing better than every single U.S. index. Let's look at Japan. What is it? DXJ. That's a no-go. And then let's go back over to China. And this is also a no-go. Although, yeah, I mean, I could see it going up to 50-day moving average. But this, to me, would be a no-go. But in Germany, clearly right here, I mean, this is a no-go as well. But this is definitely something to watch out for. I mean, this is acting fantastically. All right. Now let's go over some sectors, financials. Yeah, I don't know. It's back above the 200-day moving average again. I mean, this isn't something I would go after here. I could see this doing good or poorly, right? So, I don't go after things like that. Biotech. Oh, this looks good. I could see this kind of filling that gap there. But again, it's nothing that I would go after. It doesn't meet my criteria. Healthcare. Yeah, not bad. All right, real estate. Not good. Honestly, that doesn't look that good. That's kind of troubling. Bonds here. Yeah, I don't know. Is this some sort of bottoming pattern? It could be. Let's see if the weekly chart changes anything. Sort of does change things. All right, utilities, communications. Yeah, I mean, shoot, I think utilities looks pretty sweet, honestly. But again, this doesn't meet my criteria for going after it now. So, I'm not going to go after it now. But, all right, industrials. Wow, very strong day today for industrials. That's cool. Communications, utilities. Did we go? Yeah, utilities, communications. Yeah, again, I could see this going either way. I would lean towards bullish, but, I'm not going to go after anything like this, right? So you just kind of get an overall picture of everything that's going on, and, I could see tomorrow being a good day. Let's see, Broadcom. Back above the 200-day moving average. We can check out Palantir. I think it's been rocking and rolling. Yeah, I think today had a huge day. Not to mention just the markets. Were really good, and Palantir has been a fantastic stock. But just for the fact that I think it was leaked that Israel is running like a war simulation against an attack with Iran. Seriously, hope that does not happen. Marvel, AI. Good old AI. Yeah, see, here's the thing. None of this ever met my eye, where even back in here it was just going ballistic. None of this was worth chasing to me, because this is not a proper base at all. And I mean, this literally doubled in like 2 weeks from not a proper base. So I never went after this. Just a faulty base, and just has never worked. Never worked. I mean, clearly there were some times in here where you could have gotten a banger, but for all those times you would have also gotten wrecked as well if you tried every time. You know what I mean? It's like maybe if you get that one off and you're like, okay, I'm done. Let's look at let's go back to some video games here. Wow. So Take-Two has made a new all-time high, with markets really not doing well. Wow. So I think this is something I have to go after tomorrow. Yeah. But equity position. Wow, that's crazy. Take-Two all-time highs. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's even crazier to me than Netflix being at all-time highs. Let's look at Caterpillar. Wow, see? I mean, so you got Dow, way down. SPY, way down. I mean, clearly last couple days have been fantastic, but just generally speaking, things way, way down from a couple months ago. And then you've got Take-Two at all-time highs. Is this all-time highs? Wow. Wild. Huh. Out of all companies, Take-Two, huh? That's very interesting. This did have this gap to fill. So do you excuse all of this when markets were just dumping? I'm going to lean with, yes, you can excuse this. But is this base here similar to how Apple's was? Reminds me of Apple's right in here. Very similar, right? Although there wasn't a gap to fill and markets were fine around this point, if I recall. But very similar, huh? Let's zoom in. Similar. Similar, but not. When Apple broke out, there wasn't this heavy volume. 1.5 times normal volume. Let's see, when Apple broke out to highs. Not heavy volume to confirm that breakout. But I still was surprised that Apple did fail. All right. Yep, it's decided. I'm going to go after Take-Two tomorrow. Wow, Take-Two. Is this a huge cup with handle, with this being the handle? Yeah, and a very tight handle as well. Which I like to see that. I don't like to see the big old, where it's super obvious handle. 80 to 100. Ugh, that is kind of deep. Came back and retested though, and this is when markets were bad and there was a gap to fill. And then huge volume. Yeah, this is a have to go after for me. All right, that's it. Let's go over some commodities here. Corn had a really good day. Gold is just, as of now, this is sort of a no-go. Wow, look at this. There is going to be another trade to be had in here. Although, is this a blow off top? Is anyone going to tell me? No, not a blow. Whoa, huge volume. Yeah, that's one to sideline, actually. We're going to sideline that. Silver had a pretty good day, though, but it's coming up into resistance. Yeah, we're going to not worry about these. Okay, corn. Looked great. Still looks fantastic. Want to kind of maybe give it a day or something in here. I wanted to go after this today, and I probably should have. I was a little bit... yeah, it's acting great. I was a little bit... preoccupied here with NASDAQ. I mean, look at this morning that it had. This is just, I mean, this was an unbelievable morning. And right in here, I got short NASDAQ futures and then got wrecked up in here. I was adding to it too and got wrecked. And then had to dig myself out of this hole all day. So, which I did, but which is also frustrating because it could have been just such a monstrous day that turned into, mediocre, you know. Um, but, so I was a little bit preoccupied with NASDAQ here. But anyways, yeah, so corn looked great. Yeah, I just had a little bit too many irons in the fire here, during this whole time. So, yeah, okay, before we end this, let's look at Google and see if there's anything specific. Now, if we want to talk about any sort of analysis on Google, people often, and very often, way too often, I would say this is the most common mistake, is people think more knowledge equals better success, and that is not the case at all. At all. If in fact that was true, then every analyst would be a good trader and there would be no analysts because they'd be making a lot of money from trading, right? With all the knowledge they have, studying companies all day, giving price targets all day, writing bull theses, writing bear theses. I just, so I get a broad overview, and plus single stocks, I don't really, I'm much more interested in more global macro stuff anyways, and the money supply and geopolitics, and just sentiment in general, people's sentiment, which and the human element on trading, which is technical analysis, than I am a single stock or trying to analyze a single stock, and just I'm not in this to try and stroke my ego or try and be smart. But anyways, so let's see here. Google's earnings power holds up in global turbulence. Can Google adapt like Amazon, or will it face eBay's fate? Wow, that's interesting take. ChatGPT overhang isn't going away. Yeah, Microsoft's AI is not going away, that's true. Strong margins. Oh, okay. So there we go. Yeah, see, the revisions are way down. You wouldn't be shocked that this was up. Revenue for quarter above expectations of, $1 billion, up 12% on the year. Yeah, that's really, really good, Past time. Okay. Strong Q1. Yeah. CEO, of course, is going to say everything's all good. So Alphabet saw improved profit margins. Wow. Yeah, so I would say that's a huge highlight. My professional Google analysis. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, strong profit margins, revenue up. Yeah, that's great result. When sentiment's low, it's not surprised in any way that this is up after hours. All right, cool. Yeah, so that's it. And what's going on tomorrow? Yeah, nothing. I may make a video tomorrow. Hope so. There's more things to talk about now. There was nothing going on. Now there's things going on, so we got some things to talk about. Uber looks pretty stinking good, although this is pretty sloppy. This is sloppy in here. I'm not going after that. We already have Take-Two to go after, Corn. Let's look at Palo Alto Networks. Yeah, that's a no-go. Oh, shoot, we didn't look at Tesla. And then that's it. Then we're out of here. I don't know. I would love to see Tesla performing fantastically. But, all right, guys. Well, hopefully everybody had an amazing day. And we'll catch you all hopefully tomorrow.